So this is the story of my flight to Purdue last early this summer. I had a pretty difficult time. I thought it was difficult to apply to colleges, but the real trouble is when you try to decide which one you're actually going to go to. So I had to go out and see it. Purdue, I don't know if you can see my mouse very well, but it's right here at KLAF. Then I also went and toured Lewis University, which is up here at KLOT. It's pretty close to Chicago. This was the airplane we took. The first mistake I made was thinking that a Cessna 150 was a good cross-country airplane. We had about, with me and my dad, we had about 54 extra pounds before we exceeded the max gross weight. So that was a bit of a constraint there. But we got it figured out. We had just barely enough of everything to make it. We were flying out of, I'm sure some of you know George Coy at the Franklin County Airport. He has a business there. You can rent airplanes. He has a couple nice 150s here. So we took off and we were flying over the Adirondacks, which was a little bit, this isn't something I really want to do again, because I quickly realized that there's not much of anything out here, nowhere really to land. So I decided I wasn't going to do that again. So on the way back, I stayed up north around the highways and people. So yeah. Then through the Adirondacks, we got to, we were getting close to Oswego, New York, which was our first fuel stop. We stopped there for a bit. We had some lunch, did some more planning, and checked weather some more, and then headed to our next stop, which was Titusville, which I think is in Pennsylvania. Here's the landing there. Not the most graceful, but not too bad. This was the first time things got a little bit more interesting. With the headwind, we realized we had like a 20 or 30 mile an hour headwind, which I was always trying to find the right altitude that was the least bad at. And I wanted to go down to here near Mount Vernon at Wydknop, right in here. But it got too dark too quickly, and I didn't have the 3 takeoffs and landings in the last 90 days to do that with a passenger. So we decided to cut it short and land here at Holmes County. Our hotel was still in Mount Vernon over here, so it was quite a bit longer of an Uber ride, but there's no reason to push it any farther than we did. So I don't have a picture of Holmes County, but this is one I found on the internet. So the next day we Ubered back out there and started flying west, and again battling the 30 mile an hour headwinds. And then got interesting again. I think we're still in Ohio. I don't know. Every separate flight felt like a whole day to me. So we were trying to go straight from the last airport to Purdue, which is over this way to the west. But there was this wall sort of forming of rain that it looked like there was a hole through it, but I didn't want to push it. And I was always keeping my eyes out for any alternatives. And I decided to turn around and head back to KVES here. And that was definitely a good decision. Here's the landing there. And this was why it was a good idea. This was maybe 30 minutes after we landed, and it's a video filming outside the FBO. You can see it's actually a little bit of hail and mostly rain that's blowing sideways across the pavement there. So we basically spent the next hour looking at ForeFlight. That's the plane right there tied down outside. It was very small hail, so it wasn't a big deal to leave them out there for like that. So we spent the next probably hour looking at the radar on ForeFlight and my radar and all the other apps on my phone, and trying to figure out what we're gonna do. And if we were stuck there, that looked like yes, I have grown up in Calais, so I know what the middle of nowhere is, but that was like seriously the middle of nowhere. So it was the start of really the main lesson here, which you don't learn in flight school, which is the get there-itis trying to kick in. But eventually we looked on the radar, and and I could see it out the window. There was a solid that the storms were moving away, and there was a solid path that was widening to allow us to get over to Purdue, which was about an hour away at this point. This is the storms that have parted away there. You can see the rain on there, and I could see through, looking ahead, that it was perfectly safe. And then finally, the long-awaited landing at Purdue. This was super rewarding, and yeah, I could see the airport here is like right there. The campus is like touching the airport. So I could see the whole campus on the final approach. Can't really see it in the video, but it was there. This is also my first time flying into a Class D airport. I've flown to Class C and everything during training, but I never flown to a Class D before. And it was the FBO there kind of blew my mind, that how like you don't have to do anything. You just park the plane, and then the guy comes up with the fuel truck and ties it down for you, or brings it in a hangar if you want to pay for it. But we left it outside, and they were very nice there. Here's the landing. So then that next day we toured the campus and talked to people, and that it definitely pretty much made up my mind there that I was gonna go to Purdue. Right now I leave to go there in about a week. So yeah. So the next day after the tour and everything, we went to Lewis University, which was about an hour north. The headwinds weren't quite as bad. There's a landing. So we toured the campus. It was all right, but I still was pretty set on going to Purdue at that point. Then the last night at a hotel room was then, and then next day we headed out. The thing about that airport is that it's right under the the highest shelf of the Class B airspace around Chicago. So I had to make sure I didn't go up too high there for a while, and I could see some jet traffic here and there. This is a video flying out of it. There also, I was kind of wishing I was in a glider at that point, because occasionally I'd just see the variometer just get stuck all the way over, and I was considering just like circling there and saving some fuel and getting up to where I wanted to be, but you know, I just kept going. And this, we're finally heading back, so that ridiculous 30-mile-an-hour headwind was finally a tailwind, which helped a lot. The next airport was a little weird. It was kind of just tucked into it was close to Cleveland, Ohio. It was kind of tucked into some cornfields with a pretty short runway. There's a landing there. This airport, maybe I didn't look closely enough at something, but they didn't have, they couldn't take credit cards at the fuel pump. But luckily there was someone there who knew how to do everything. They had a really nice FBO, and the guy there told me that DC-3s used to fly out of there, and I have trouble imagining something that big coming off of that small of a runway. He said that they sometimes wouldn't refuel them all the way, and they take off and go to another airport with a bigger runway and then fully refuel there, and they could be light enough. The next stop was back to Oswego, which we went to on the way in. At this point, it was getting kind of late, so I realized I was going to have to do the rest of the flying at night. So without Dad, I went and did my 3 night takeoffs and landings to a full stop. So I had that within the last 90 days to take passengers legally and safely. We departed there around 9, and then because it would be incredibly stupid to fly over the Adirondacks at night in a single engine airplane, I stayed north and kind of hooked around close to the Canadian border of New York, and stayed where there was always a highway or something I could see to land on. It was a good night for some nights cross country. It was it was pretty much completely clear, plenty of moonlight, so I felt safe doing this. Then finally back to Franklin County Airport. It was really cool to see Lake Champlain from the sky at night in the moonlight. We got back around 11, and then refueled the plane, put it in the hangar, and started the 1.5-hour drive back, which is kind of a lot. I made had another learning experience here. I think my dad was looking at ForeFlight to see the best runway before I had listened to the AWOS, and he said that it was runway 1 and not 19, which he might have made a mistake there. And then when I listened to the AWOS, I think I had some confirmation bias, and then I calculated in my head which runway was the better one with the best headwind, and I got it wrong somehow. So I ended up landing with a tailwind, and I ended up having to go around, and I was just fatigued enough to not realize it or not think about it, which I guess I learned from. So here's the landing finally at Franklin County. Then when I was finally on the ground, I realized that like a lot of the people I know and a lot of my family was spying on me the whole time in FlightAware or some kind of website or something where you can track airplanes, and I got flooded with a bunch of welcome home texts. The return flight was about 8 hours, and the total time the engine was running was 22.3 hours. And that was it for my flight to Purdue. Now on to Oshkosh. This is me here trying really, really hard to achieve some small level of comfort in my crappy pop-up camper that's completely mouse infested and that I got for free and is nowhere near watertight at all. So it worked this time, at least. We named it Stilla, and its last name is Tatched, so it's still attached. Kind of a joke there. The first thing I saw when I got there was Scrappy. I don't know if anyone here knows Mike Patey on YouTube, but he's a guy who builds or maybe Draco rings a bell. But this guy that builds insane bush airplanes and sometimes race airplanes on for fun. And I've been watching this guy build this thing over the last, I don't know, year or so, and it's probably one of my favorite airplanes. Some cool things about it is the propeller here is from a airboat, so it has that really long cord line, I guess, on all the blades. The suspension here is, you can control it, so it can go in different modes, like for instance, if he's tying it down outside, he can make it so that these shock absorbers retract, so this is lower, and then he can make the tail go down, so it's more, the nose is more level, because tail draggers will take off in a windstorm because they're already sitting on the ground, they're already at a higher angle of attack, so it gets rid of that and makes it kind of sit on the ground like a tricycle airplane. It also has double slats. You can't really see it in the picture, but he has a slat and then a slat that comes on top of the slat to, go slower, which I haven't heard of anyone else doing that, so that was cool. Another cool thing, there was a lot of VTOL stuff, electric vertical takeoff or landing. This company Volo was showcasing their basically a quadcopter for people. I think it had like at least a dozen of these little electric motors here. Their idea was basically to replace the like helicopter charter around the big cities and replace it with this, which would be, in theory, a lot more cheaper and just be for anyone. Has room for 2 passengers. There's no pilot. It seemed like it was just completely automated. Little cargo compartment in here, and it requires some infrastructure. The way it gets rid of all the problems of batteries is it just does short hops, and everywhere it goes, there'll be infrastructure to take the battery off of, the battery is somewhere in the back here, and it just takes the battery completely off of the thing and then puts a brand new, fresh, fully charged one back on. So it's always at a full charge and you don't have to really worry as much about range or anything like that. So I guess we'll see if that actually takes off. Another cool thing is this absolutely legendary C-47. This was the one that led the charge on D-Day. It was at the lead in the formation. You can see its name, "That's all, brother." That's a message to Hitler there. So, and it was so cool to see that flying around every day. And of course, I have to end it the way they end things at Oshkosh with the wall of fire here. Their grand finale of their pyrotechnics show. I honestly, I would go to Oshkosh just to see that. So yeah, that's about it.
Well, it's quite a trip there, Silas.
Good job. Nice job.
Yeah, good job, Silas.
Thank you.
I do think traveling in a 150 would be a little tight.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't the most comfortable.
So what was your ground speed, Silas?
Well, going back, it was like 130 with the tailwind.
Yeah.
Going out, I thought maybe the headwind would be better at one point if I went higher. I thought it was worth a try, and I got it as low as like 40 miles an hour, and I was like, nope, I'm going back down. it's much better down lower.
Were the cars on the freeway passing you?
At that point they were. I think I still was beating them for most of the flight.
Yeah.
You got time to spare, go by air.
Yep, that was echoing in my head.
Yeah,
So
what an adventure.
yeah, no, that's awesome. So Silas, you were talking about ForeFlight. Is that pretty much how you do all your flight planning these days, or any old school sectional E6B plotters in use anymore, or is it all electronic?
Not really. I do the weight and balance calculations by hand.
Okay.
But yeah, ForeFlight is pretty convenient.
It's a pretty good
once
program.
you learn to use it.
ForeFlight, it's a pretty good program.
Yeah,
Very, very powerful tool. And what kind of
Huh?
GPS was in the 150?
I don't know the name of it, but it was really nice. It had it wasn't that one wasn't certified for IFR, but it had like synthetic vision and stuff built into it, and you could see all the traffic and weather, and it was a nice one. I forgot what it was. I think it's Garmin.
So
It was a Garmin.
going into Class B airspace the first time, how did that feel?
Well, I never went into it. I stayed under it or around it, but Class D airspace was the first time I went into that, which having gone into Class C, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I kept my eyes out for traffic, obviously.
Did you get a flight following or anything along the way? Like call flight service on the radio and
No, I didn't. I felt safe enough with the ADSB and stuff.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. What about flight plans? Do people file those anymore? Did you guys, or you had all these people watching you, I guess, on Flight
Yeah, I had
Aware?
enough people watching me. I thought it was all right. And plus, except for the Adirondacks, I felt like if I had an engine failure, I'd just be like, okay, there's I'm basically over a massive runway here with all the farm fields.
Right, right.
Did you use flight following, Silas?
They said no.
No, okay, I didn't hear that.
So Silas, at Oshkosh, you said Scrappy is one of your favorites. What are your favorite, or do you have like a tie for your top favorites?
That might probably be my favorite. That and like obvious like Spitfires and Mustangs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
There were
those are
Spitfires.
Oh yeah, there was everything.
Wow.
So tell me
I
more
only
about
saw
the.
one.
Oh, go ahead, Silas. Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
only saw one at least flying. I didn't really check out the Warbird section. I'm sure there were a couple. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, tell me about this fire show at the end. Like,
Oh yeah.
what's that about?
That's just their night air show. It's kind of the first few times I went, it's kind of funny because you're just driving for hours and it's just cornfields on either side, and then all of a sudden off in the distance you see a airplane with fireworks shooting off of its wingtips, and then the grand finale of that whole night air show is the wall of fire. Then just I don't know what they use. I guess it might be I don't know, black powder. I don't know what it is, but it's awesome. And it's all the other fireworks show are just boring to me now.
Yeah, so you're saying they drop this stuff from a plane, or is it just
No,
on the
it's
ground?
all on the
Okay.
ground. They make it on some of the during that air show. they with the, say they have like the B-17s flying over, they'll like open the bomb bay doors and make it seem like they're bombing the ground
Okay,
by like setting off them in like in a string.
gotcha.
Very cool. And you can feel the heat coming off of it like almost before you can see it. It's really intense.
Wow.
What cool home builds did you see, Silas?
Sort of what?
What cool home builds did you see?
Home builds.
Home builds. Didn't really go into I didn't have a lot of time this year. I didn't really go into those sections, but I looked through the Sonics and the Kit Fox and RV and all those people. A Sonic's personal jet would be very cool to have.
Yeah, there's a lot to see at Oshkosh.
Yeah.
You can't really absorb it all very well. You have to go section by section.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Silas, so you're leaving next week, you said, or in about a week to,
Yeah, I'm leaving on the 18th. So yeah, that's about a week.
yeah, you taking the 150 or you gonna drive this
No,
time?
I'm taking the CRV, the Honda CRV.
You can carry a little more weight.
Yeah, it has a little bit better of a useful load.
Gotcha.
And you'll be there quicker.
Maybe, yeah, probably. Depends on the winds.
The headwind.
Thank you, Silas.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you later. Good luck
Yeah.
at school.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No
Well,
problem.
thanks again, Silas, and we have this recorded and Carl will put it up on the website for everybody to see.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Silas.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Silas. You take care. Okay, good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Good night.